Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Primetime Mitch. Today I am joined by Layna, and we are here to discuss creature features. How are you doing, Layna?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I am pretty fresh today. I've been tired for like 7 days running, but I feel good today.
Fresh start, ready to go.
Yeah, it must be the subject matter. I'm excited about this.
Yeah, me too, me too.
So when we first discussed talking about this particular subject, the creature feature, what was it that sort of excited you about that? What made you want to talk about that?
Well, it's something, you know what, I've always loved horror and I always loved certain kind of genres and things, but I've just taken like a proper deep dive into creature features recently. I have like a massive phobia of sharks, and I always try and like combat this fear by watching like terrifying shark movies. So when you were suggesting to do creature feature chat, I was like, yeah, absolutely, like any chance for me to terrify myself with movies.
Wow, so basically you are, when you watch that particular theme of the movie, so sharks, for example, you are facing a fear. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, essentially, yeah. I've always been terrified of them from watching like movies far too young. And I feel like, oh, if the more I watch, the easier, like the less scary they'll be and the easier to watch it is, which I actually think is working.
Was it like a therapy?
Yeah, I feel like it's proper like exposure therapy, and like the more I watch, the more I'm like, oh, okay, like they are terrifying, but I think I'm okay.
Oh, that's good. Well, in that case, I thought I'd flow on from that because when we were discussing this beforehand, we talked about like our personal favourite creature features. You're very similar to me, actually, but I'll let you go with yours, and then I'll sort of basically repeat what you've just said.
Okay. So I think my top two are definitely Jaws and Thing.
Mm-hmm.
So very different kind of creature features. Jaws is just like a classic, like it's timeless. I've watched it so many times, and it was definitely one of the ones that when I was younger terrified me the most. I remember going on the ride in Florida and like screaming and crying the whole time. But it's just the more I watch it, the just more I love it. It's perfect.
How old were you when you went on that ride?
I would have been 9 or 10 years old, I think.
See, that's brave if you're afraid of sharks, because I think I was 18 when I went on that ride. And it still made me,
It's because it's so real. Like obviously, the animatronic is so well done that it just looks like the one out of the movie. And when you're that terrified of the movie, it's like you're living the movie.
I felt like they created the same tension as well.
Yeah, oh for sure. Yeah, it was such a brilliant ride.
Yeah. Well, I have got Jaws written down here, very large letters, very bold, and it's the first one in there. You've got The Thing, which I have put in, but I always seem to separate The Thing because it's just such a visual masterpiece that I almost feel like calling it a creature feature doesn't actually do it justice, but it definitely is. I've also thrown in with a big smiley face next to it, Tremors.
Yes, I recently watched this for the first time. It's not what I expected. It's just chaos. Like it's so campy, it's so chaotic. It was such like a bizarre movie to me.
What did you expect?
Really enjoy it. I thought it was going to be a more serious movie, I think. And then as soon as I stuck it on, I was like, okay, this is not what I expected.
The first minute you can tell what's going to, where it's going. Yeah. So I suppose it establishes early. I did a recent review on that with analysing horror, and we were talking about that movie. And it's just, I think it's definitely more comedy than horror. Yeah. But I threw that in because I enjoy it. But the top three were The Thing, Jaws, and Cloverfield.
Oh, okay, good choice.
Because I feel like it is a creature feature because it's a giant creature. So.
Yeah, I really like that movie actually. I've not seen it in a while, but the first time, because it's like the found footage feel, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it kind of jumps in between so many different genres. But no, it's I feel like it's an underrated one as well. I feel like not many people kind of go for that.
Definitely. This is only a precursor because I'm going into my favourite found footage movies soon, and that it's all over that. I will be talking a lot about that one. I wanted to ask a question actually. We were talking about what is a creature feature, but it's also so many other things. Mm-hmm. Are there any movies that have a creature element, but you don't class as a creature feature?
I do have one on my list, and it's The Quiet Place. Well, I mean, the whole series, I guess, but mostly just the first one, like A Quiet Place. It wasn't something that I thought of until I was kind of making my list, that it is a creature feature. Like and I know that the whole premise of it is about these aliens, but I never linked it with the kind of genre before. I don't know why. I don't know if I just put it more as like a tense kind of like thriller, horror, or like kind of disaster movie.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I really kind of brought it back, and I was like, oh no, that is like a really strong kind of creature feature.
Yeah, I think it's because they sort of put the emphasis on the drama and the tension and the and the all and like you said, he said it's a disaster movie. It is like that situation that everyone's in and that atmosphere around, and then it's like the creatures are almost second fiddle to that. So I would understand.
Absolutely.
With The Quiet Place, I mean, I will admit I've only ever seen the first one.
Okay.
I haven't seen the others, and therefore I can't really go and watch the new one because that would be a travesty of justice to skip. What is your earliest memory of the creature feature, or is it Jaws?
It's definitely Deep Blue Sea.
Oh.
So now I don't know what my parents were thinking, but I was genuinely 4 or 5 years old when I watched that movie. And the only part I remember is the shark smashing through the glass. And then I just remember screaming and having nightmares like ever since. So tonight, actually, I got it out of one of the charity shops recently, and I'm going to rewatch it like 25 years later.
Yeah, oh,
and see kind of how I find it and see if it is as scary as I thought it was or what. But yeah, that's definitely my earliest memory.
Well, I definitely want to know how that goes, because I remember I went to watch Deep Blue Sea at the theatre, and it was, I remember I had a big bucket of popcorn. I never usually buy it at the cinema anymore. I'm usually a hot dog person now. But I had this whole bucket of popcorn, and when Samuel L. Jackson's making that speech, and it comes out behind him and chews him in half, it went over my head onto the person's lap behind. And I think that there is CGI in that, but that's a great example of early CGI when it seemed to work a bit better.
For sure.
And they mixed it up with the practical. But I really think that movie does deserve the love it gets, because I think a lot of people always say, well, it's Jaws, but then it's Deep Blue Sea following it.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like that's kind of the top two. Like if you ask anyone your favourite like shark movie, those would definitely rank at the top.
My earliest one is not Jaws, although it's very shortly after.
Okay.
It is Jurassic Park.
Now,
if you class
again, one that I do not associate with being a creature feature.
No, not immediately.
It so is.
Yeah. I remember being afraid of when they were in the car and the water ripples and everything. That's on. I did a video of scary scenes in non-horror, and that's like number 5 or something.
Oh, that's such a good one.
Yeah, but that was my first introduction to actual sort of creatures being created on screen, and then from then on, when I get older and wiser, you start watching all the stuff that came before it. And that's such a good movie though, and such a good like scene to like introduce you to it all. It's still amazing to this day.
It is. Yeah, it's timeless.
Yeah. I mean, how do you feel about, because I've had endless discussions about this, the CGI thing, because now we have so many creature features that are just being thrown out like almost mass produced because of the ease of CGI. And I often think that do you think it's diluted the creature feature in some way at all?
I think yes and no. Like I am such a massive fan of practical effects that's like I'd much rather you put in the work that way and made the creature. Like I totally respect the whole CGI, like a lot of work still does go into that and things, but I do think it then makes it easier to, like you say, have creature after creature coming out. And yeah, they probably are scarier because we've got like the new technology and things these days, but I just love like an old school practical monster.
It's always going to be the case. On this channel, the amount of conversations I'm going to have, like I have had and I'm going to have about practical effects is endless. But I think certainly with certain creatures, like I remember you put in the list, like what's your favourite kind of creature for a movie? And I think I'm going to go on to that in a second. I think the one that suffers the most from the CGI from what I've been watching recently are the arachnids. Yeah, because they are very easy to create.
Yeah.
But yeah, I figured that there's only a handful of good ones when it comes to those. But what would we'll go with that question you asked me actually about favourite creature. What's yours?
So I think mine's is either the spiders or the sharks, I think, because to me they are like the scariest. I know that they're real. I know that that's what scares me. So it's all like, obviously subjective and things, but those are the two things in life that really scare me. So when I watched Arachnophobia for the first time the other week, I was genuinely itching my skin. I felt like they were crawling on me.
Yeah.
Because they used real spiders.
Yeah, of
and
course.
so that made it so much scarier that there wasn't these big CGI spiders or anything. Yes, perfect.
Came through the post the other day, so
amazing.
That's one of the watch-alongs in the next month.
Sick. That's a great one for
I'm going to watch it with my partner and our friend, and both of them are terrified. So,
they will be clawing at their skin like I was.
Perfect television. I agree with you though about playing on the fears, because I think Jack Arnold that directed Creature from the Black Lagoon, and he also did, I believe he did I think he did Tarantula or one of those movies.
Okay, I haven't seen that.
Or Earth versus the Spider, but they were one of the earlier ones in the 50s.
Okay.
And he said, I wanted to do a movie about spiders because people are so afraid of them.
Yeah.
And I think that then goes, people have taken that attitude for sharks as well.
Yeah.
So I agree that they're probably the best creatures to use because they are so real.
Yeah.
Are there any that don't really scare you at all?
I must say crocodiles don't. I don't have a fear of them at all. So I just enjoy the kind of movies. I guess it kind of opens it up to real monsters and kind of fake monsters.
Yes.
So then the real ones are more scary to me than the fake ones, but I can see how they're both just as effective.
So in the debate of real versus imagined, you would go with real?
Yeah, I think so. It's just more, it gets me.
Relatable.
Anytime I swim in the sea, then I'm like, oh, it just gets in my head. I'm like, oh, there could be a shark here, because they're real.
Yeah.
They're definitely more effective in my opinion anyway.
I would say that I think I've put down in my notes here that real edges it. I think there is a small case when you talk about I don't want to call them fake, but imagined monsters, creatures that, for example, there's a Korean movie called The Host with a huge fish, and I think they've done this through the years with ants and locusts and wasps and things. But when they've done it with spiders as well, and to a degree, Deep Blue Sea did it with sharks. But it's when they mutate them or they mess with their genetics. That's almost sort of, you can bring those imagined ones into real life, a little like with the dinosaurs, for example. They would be imagined because they don't exist anymore, but if they did what the movie suggests and the research that they did in that, it just makes them slightly more real. But I definitely think that real edges it 100%.
Yeah, no, I totally agree that the fact that science is so crazy to me these days, they're doing just about everything, so it is kind of sits in my head that I'm like, oh, they could do something to make giant spiders or something. So it definitely it makes you think a little bit more with these movies. I'm like, oh, are we that far away from this happening?
I mean, you've got to ask a question as well. It's how unrealistic does it become before the fear factor goes? Because with arachnophobia, that is very realistic because they are all the right size. Even the big one at the end is true to life. Maybe slightly bigger than, but I mean, I've seen one in Tobago that I still can't get over. So, but that they are real. Whereas eight-legged freaks, it's that's a scientific experiment. I think things like now, I would say, bit corny, story not great. But when you watch Anaconda, the size of the snake in that, I went and looked at anacondas after I watched that movie, and they aren't that far off what they depict.
Oh, okay.
And that is terrifying.
So
I just wonder whether it gets to a certain size, it becomes you lose the fear factor and it just starts to become fun.
Yeah, that's so true, actually. I've never really thought about it. Because like you say, Eight-Legged Freaks, I watched that recently, and I wasn't scared at all. No. And you think, oh, these are huge spiders. You're scared of tiny little ones in your house. These are huge. But it just kind of, I don't know, it lost it for me. But I suppose that snakes can get to such a size that you're like, okay, no, this is true to life still.
Yeah. Well, I did think with Eight-Legged Freaks that I was more afraid of the first two that they showed, which was there was one in the cupboard when she shut the door, and then there's the one that the cat sees just walking through you see the back end of it. Those two, I was like, oh, I don't like that. But then after it, I just got lost in the silliness of it.
Yeah, completely.
And I think as well, if I mentioned the 50s films, Tarantula, and they were like Eight-Legged Freaks. It was just a giant thing on the hill the size of a house. But I think they did it very cleverly with silhouettes because it was black and white.
Ah, okay.
But I think
I need to watch them.
Yeah, they are really fun. I'm pretty sure you can see them quite easily, but it's it's the sheer size of it. I just lose it after, it's like, I'm not really scared of that. But
not completely. I definitely agree with that.
I suppose that's where Jaws works as well, because even though it's humongous, I've no doubt there are sharks that size.
Yeah, completely.
So creature design.
Yeah.
Go for it.
So I'm a big fan of Creature from the Black Lagoon. I feel like that's definitely like a pioneer for the whole genre. And it was so like ahead of its time, in my opinion. Like the design of that creature was like nothing that you'd really seen before. Such a good movie. I just love how like kind of intricate the whole Gillman like setup was. I think it's just great, and it was totally inspiring for more and more movies after its time.
I definitely
and then
agree.
you come into the movies like Gremlins or like Critters and things like that, where it's just like they look cute, but they're so they're so evil and so like scary. So it totally just shows you that how the design's changed.
I definitely would stand by that. If we don't have Gillman, we don't have Gremlins.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's another one actually that's just come through.
Oh, nice.
I know, and I'm so excited about this one.
Jealous.
Yeah, this is for the weekend, Saturday night. I think we're watching this.
Nice.
But it's been a long time since I've seen it. But I would say with that design, I think it's a perfect balance of intricate and detailed, but simplistic. Because
Yes.
I think if you make a creature like that, and then years later when you're doing sort of merchandise and stuff, you can make a recognizable plush out of it.
Yes.
You've done a good job at making a recognizable creature without going way over the top with it.
Yeah, no, that's so true actually. Because I'd say that most things are kind of simple enough, but that is just like you said, it's just perfect. Like plushes are hard to kind of make if it's so intricate and things, but that is just, you know who it is. You take one look at it and you know exactly who it is, what movie it's from.
Well, this was before they were making characters and creatures and whatnot and thinking about the merchandise, So
Yeah.
but I
Way
do
ahead
think
of its time.
you can go over the top. I mean, you definitely couldn't make anything really out of the Thing because it's so many different types of things all the way through it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love the Creature from the Black Lagoon as just a recognizable, iconic look, and I don't think many actually have come close to it really.
No, I don't think so. I'd say that it's definitely one of the most kind of iconic creatures that we've had in movies.
How do you feel about how these sort of costumes and designs are inspired by things? Like I think Gilman was it like a sea monk or something? It was a particular kind of fish. How do you think? How do you think that these creatures are inspired by things like existing creatures, for example?
It's definitely like such a like an artistic mindset, I think, because we would look at something and we'd come up with different ideas, but it's trying to find like the scary aspects of an already existing thing, I guess, and trying to change it slightly to make it more terrifying, but also more kind of like recognizable as a monster, not that exact like fish, like you say.
I think it's a real skill to get it right, because if you think about it, if you're making a horror and you've got a creature involved in this, it's a creature feature horror. It's hard to frighten an audience if they're admiring the craftsmanship of the monster.
Yeah.
So you've got to get that balance where it's amazing to look at, but it's still quite terrifying as well.
Yeah, for sure. I do find myself in most horrors, to be fair, where there's like a ghost or something and you don't see it for a lot of the movie. And then when you do see it, I find myself just forgetting the whole fact that it's scary. And I'm like, okay, right, what does it look like? Does it have like claws? Does it have like big teeth? Like, I just want to see exactly what it looks like.
That's a horror fan's perspective, though. I guess other people aren't like that. We think differently to everybody else, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
I noticed in the notes that you'd sent me that you'd mentioned The Descent as well.
Yes, that's definitely, because I felt like my two favourite creature features were like older ones. So I thought if I put kind of three of my newer ones, so I put The Descent, I put Nope, and I put Quiet Place. But The Descent it's just such a great movie. And it definitely does get enough love, which I'm very happy about. But it's just, it's great. It's horrifying, it's sad, like, it's good chemistry with the characters. Like, I can't fault that movie. I love it so much.
I think it's. I mean, I personally, I can only watch it the once.
Yeah.
Not because I think it's bad by any stretch.
Uh-huh.
I don't do. But I've said this in the Saw video, but I don't do bone breakages very well.
Right. Okay.
And yeah, there's a fairly there's a fairly dragged out graphic one in that.
Yes.
But what I will say about the premise and the creatures and things, what's worse about The Descent and what they do brilliantly, they lock you down there with it.
Yes.
It's not your problem that you're sharing with everyone, like a big creature in a city coming at you, or
Yeah.
you know, you've got the sheriffs on your side or something.
Yeah, yeah.
These are, you are locked underground with this thing, and I think
it's
that
all
is
on you.
that's amazingly good horror. That I think.
It's so clever, isn't it?
Do you think claustrophobia helps with things like that? Like I think Infested, this new spider one, I think they're locked in a building or something. Do you think being in such close proximity and not being able to get away enhances it?
Yeah, definitely. I don't feel like I'm a claustrophobic person at all until I am in a smaller space and I'm like, okay, yeah, uncomfortable now. So the thought of being stuck in a cave already terrifies me. Add in complete darkness and these creatures, like it is terrifying. Like, and you can almost put yourself there. You're like, okay, you can imagine what that would feel like and how cold and dark already you feel. And then the terror that comes with the monster. So I definitely think that kind of one location definitely makes it more terrifying.
And with it being dark as well, it's minimalist. They're not
Yes.
always there, so you can get used to them.
Yeah, you're kind of seeing glimpses of them, or when you are seeing them, it's too late, and yeah, it's clever.
How are you with like how often you see a creature in one of these movies? What do you think the balance should be?
I always feel like once I've seen it, it's not as scary. Which is why I think I love Jaws so much, because a lot of it is from like the shark's perspective, which is so clever. But yeah, with The Descent, I feel like you see them enough, and when you see them, it's not for too long at a time, so you're kind of getting a glimpse of them, but it's almost as if you're in the movie and you're just seeing a quick glimpse, but not being able to take it in, like what's chasing you.
I think showing it from the different perspectives is a good shout as well. I think that if you're constantly seeing it full on all the time, or you constantly see the fin all the time, you get used to those shots, and then they're just shots. Yeah. Whereas if you keep flitting between under the water, above the water, you're almost doing that yourself. You know, like
you're like, right, where is it now?
Yeah, it's like you're trying to put that feeling that the characters have into the viewer. Like you don't know where clever. It is. You don't know it's below you, and I think the use of perspectives and camera angles are very important for creature features.
Yeah, definitely.
What's the last one you watched?
Oh, I watched The Monster Squad the other day.
Oh,
that was recommended to me.
God.
I loved it. I'd never even heard of it. Oh yeah.
That's it.
I love it so much. I don't know why I'd not heard of it before.
I actually have a fabulous T-shirt somewhere.
Oh, let me see. Oh, that's sick.
It's brilliant. I love it.
That is great.
That is, honestly, I can't believe we've not actually mentioned that, because they do recreate Gillman in that.
Yeah, but that's it. It's like the whole then Universal monsters kind of coming back. I don't know why I had never heard of this movie, but I absolutely loved it. It's a definite new favourite of mine.
I first watched that when I was 13.
Yeah.
12 or 13, and I didn't watch it again until I was 35.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and I was so excited when I got to see it again. I think it's an absolutely amazing movie, and more people are noticing that now, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know why it's not talked about enough. Like, it was very kind of like Goosebumps vibes. Like, it was great. It was like, it felt nostalgic even though I hadn't seen it before.
There was a reason why it sort of went under the radar.
Oh, okay.
And I can't remember what it is. I'm pretty sure I've spoken about it sometime before, but there was a reason why it didn't get as much publicity as it possibly should have done. It could have been because of what was out at the time.
Right, kind of overshone by something else.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. And maybe the elements of like Stand By Me and everything in it, maybe it looked like a copy or something. But I thought it was a mismatch of everything.
It was great.
Yeah, and the effects were great as well. Costumes.
Yeah. Everything, it was just great. Like the comedy, like the effects, just the story. I just loved it.
What do you want to say? It sounds like an interrogation, this. But like, I mean, I want to see more practical creature features being made from here on in, because I do think we're getting an influx of. Me and my partner do mockbusters, the stupid like Sharktopus and Mega Shark and Sharknado and Terror Birds and things like that. But I mean, we're okay to watch them just for what they are because they're fun, and we sort of rank them whether they're not too terrible, they're actually so bad they're good kind of thing. But I do worry that there is sort of an influx of those now, so that the creature feature suddenly becomes that category, you know, because there's so much computer generated stuff they're made with very low budget and everything. I'd love to see something come back that is more practical based.
No, for sure.
I think they've done like a lot of Godzilla stuff recently and everything. I mean, are you that familiar with those?
I know bits of Godzilla. I've not seen the new ones, but I've seen whichever one Bryan Cranston was in. I think was the last one that I saw. That
was the sort of the one that was that when they brought it back, they made one which I really don't like, the one in New York City, because of course it would go to New York City.
Yes, it's always New York.
Yeah, they redid it better with Cloverfield, but it was the one, I think it was 2013 or something like that when they made it. And that one was great. I thought that was brilliant. It was a real monster movie feel, and there was a lot of other stuff around it which was fun, like the reason why it was there and why they brought it out of like seemingly hibernation and all that. I love that kind of thing, and that was fun. But I think I got put off watching the rest of them because they just seemed to go like really overboard after that. I might be wrong.
I don't really know much about them, to be honest.
Well, nor do I. If I was wrong there and you're very angry at me, please put it in the comments. But yeah, I think monster movies and things like that, I think they need a new practical lease of life.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like, I'd love, even just the shark movie, like you say, there's so much CGI, which when it works, it's great because it looks so real and it is terrifying, but it doesn't always hit. So stripping it back to kind of Jaws and making your shark. You've got the new technology and everything now. Like, take your time and really build like a terrifying shark.
Well, that's it. They've got more now than ever to make better practical stuff than there was before, and they chose to go the digital route. I just don't get that. Yeah, because I did. I reviewed Something in the Water the other day. I went to watch that, and I actually really liked that because we're very minimal with the sharks. There was no major CGI sequence. It was all about the people and the feel. I mean, it probably isn't for everybody, but I just enjoyed the drama of it. Whereas I haven't watched Black Demon or
I haven't seen that.
Under Paris or any of those because
I kind of skimmed through that.
Because I saw the trailers and I was like, that is like Meg all over again. And I just and that's another one, by the way. I'll have one little rant on that. I'm absolutely fascinated by the Megalodon, and I would have loved them to have made a real movie about that shark that wasn't just an action flick. I was so annoyed that they wasted that opportunity, but that's something for another day, I think.
No, I kind of agree with you on that, to be fair.
Well, I think as well, water-based creatures, they sort of play on dread, and I think dread is so important in any horror-based film, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, for sure. I just feel like because like we don't know everything that's in the ocean, which in itself is terrifying.
It is.
So like there's all these creatures down there that we don't know what they are, we don't know what they look like. There can be so much that like you can do with that in horror.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, something like that I think would be interesting.
Well, Peter Benchley sort of made a career out of being fascinated by creatures, particularly oceanic creatures. But he did. I remember when I was a kid, and this is probably the third creature feature I watched was The Beast. Peter Benchley's The Beast, and it was about a giant squid. And it was like a TV movie. I'm pretty sure it's out there somewhere, but that's worth a watch because it's again, it's all practical effects. It's not amazing, but it's worth a watch. So
yeah, no, I'll give that a shout.
Because obviously you're a horror fan, I can tell. I only have to look at what's behind you to see that. Where do creature features rank in your preferences when it comes to horror subgenre?
I was actually thinking about this today. I've always been either like a slasher or a zombie fan. They've always been my top two. But since kind of diving into creature features, that's definitely made my top three. So I think slasher's my favourite. Then I don't know if I can rank zombies or creatures. I feel like they're both kind of second for me.
They're both technically creatures.
Yeah, true. You know what? I'll merge them into one.
Yeah, put them together. Or stick them side by side. I always think as well, because you speak about slashers, I would have loved to have seen Tom Savini do a creature feature, because I don't really think apart from zombie stuff, I don't think he's ever tackled anything like that.
He would have been so good at that.
Yeah, it's something. I was sort of doing some research the other day because I was looking at some of the effects artists on Jurassic Park and The Thing, and I looked at Savini. Just I wonder if he's ever done a creature or he's made a monster or anything. It's all zombies and slashers.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Again, in the comments, if I've missed one out, shame on me, and I deserve all the flack I get for it. Yeah, but I don't think he has, and I think his skills and his imagination really would lend to something like that. Maybe he's the one to bring back some real practical monsters.
Yeah, I'd love that. That's so interesting. I didn't realise that obviously I knew he'd done a lot of zombie things, but I didn't realise that was kind of his niche. Okay.
Yeah. It seems like a missed opportunity to me, but
yeah, for sure.
Do you split comedy creature feature with horror creature feature? Like, so for example, Gremlins, Critters. I think you put this in one of the questions, didn't you? Like it was sort of the real versus the fake argument.
Yeah.
I want to elaborate on that and say, do you put them all into one category? So you've got Critters, you've got Gremlins, you've got Tremors, and it's in there with Jaws and those kind of movies, or do you split them off into another subgenre?
I think I kind of split them. I think it totally depends what kind of mood I'm in to watch. So I'll be like, okay, right, I want a creature feature. And then I'm like, right, do you want something that's actually going to scare you? Or do you want something a bit more lighthearted? And then kind of take it from there. So yeah, I would kind of split them up, I think.
Good. Yeah, exactly what I would do. Completely. So if you would, go on, we'll conclude with this, because this is interesting, right? If you were given a big budget now, all the effects artists in the world at your disposal, you got to choose all of them.
Yeah.
What would be the ultimate creature feature you would create?
Ooh. I want to say I'd make a really good shark movie.
You want to recreate?
Yeah, I want to bring back the practical shark and make a good shark movie. Similar.
I would do it, but with the Megalodon.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now, it's very hard because it's giant, and that would be an incredible amount of practical effects.
It's like a year's worth of work.
But I just think it needs a really good story.
You need to pitch that to someone.
Yeah.
I totally agree, though.
Yeah, I do like monkeys as well. That I never gave them a mention. I didn't like King Kong, obviously, but I do like. There was a great film called Link.
I haven't seen that.
Oh, it's a rabid ape. It's got Elizabeth Shue in it, and that was fun because I don't think they get enough really good movies made about them because they are so human-like. I mean, obviously, Rise of the Planet of the Apes is obviously very popular, but I think I think it works in horror because they are quite terrifying. You would run from a gorilla or a baboon or something.
For sure. Yeah, that's interesting. I've never even crossed my mind that there could be a really good horror. I think, obviously, aside of King Kong, yeah.
Yeah, I think Congo was one as well back in the 90s. Okay. I remember when I was a kid, when I first watched Predator, I thought it was going to be an ape.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't know why. Obviously, I was very naive at that point. But but I class that as a sci-fi alien anyway. So, but,
see, then that's when there's so many different genres that then come into the creature feature.
Yeah, it does.
You can just add everything in, just about.
It branches off, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
I think I would have a Megalodon story, but there'd be an ape in there somewhere.
Oh, okay.
God knows how. But... Well, thank you, Layna, for joining me today. I really enjoyed that conversation, and it's set me up to watch some movies of this ilk coming up. In particular, that one, because it's like Christmas on Saturday watching that again.
No, thank you so much for having me. It's been a great chat.
It's fun. I like to do chats like this because I think the more we talk about this kind of thing, the more it stays in people's minds and people want more of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, thank you guys for watching Primetime Mitch today. If there's some creature features we missed out, or you don't agree with some of the things I said and I got anything wrong, please let me know. I won't do it again. Thank you so much for joining us. Please smash a like down below, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. That was me, Primetime Mitch. That was Layna, and see you guys soon. Thank you.